All right, so let's dive into something
Okay.
pretty interesting happening right here in Homewood Flossmoor.
Sounds good.
We're talking esports in high school.
Okay.
You know those proposals circulating around about bringing competitive gaming to HF?
Yeah.
Well, we've got our hands on one
Oh, cool.
from Khalid and Veranda Finley.
Okay.
They're alumni, class of 93.
Wow. All right.
And yeah.
what's fascinating is their proposal isn't just some generic plea.
Oh,
It's very personal. Their 15-year-old son,
okay.
a current HF sophomore, is autistic, and they say he's absolutely thrived
Wow.
through competitive gaming.
That's
It's a reminder that sometimes these big community initiatives are sparked by individual stories.
Yeah, it's true. Sometimes change starts at home.
Yeah.
So their proposal really digs deep.
Okay.
Think global esports market projections
Okay.
hitting $297.2 million this year
Wow.
and a whopping $1.07 billion in the U.S. by 2024.
Those numbers are huge.
Yeah.
Right. It makes you wonder if esports is blowing up like this.
Mm-hmm.
Is it just entertainment or is it something more?
Right.
I mean, colleges are offering scholarships,
Yeah.
but will future employers be looking at Rocket League rankings?
Right.
It makes you think about what skills will be valuable in the future.
Yeah, and the Finleys argue that esports can actually help develop some of those skills.
Interesting.
They highlight research that shows action video games can boost things like attention, task switching,
Yeah.
information processing, and memory.
Wow.
Stuff you need in school and in life.
Yeah, think about a game like StarCraft.
Yeah.
You've got to manage resources, make strategic decisions under pressure, react quickly to what your opponents are doing.
Yeah.
These are valuable skills no matter what field you're in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The proposal also talks about how esports can be especially beneficial for students with disabilities like autism.
Okay.
They say the structured, rule-based environment of gaming can help create a sense of belonging and community.
Which their son is a great example of.
Yeah.
They highlight how he's developed leadership and communication skills through gaming, something he might not have gotten as easily elsewhere.
Yeah,
It really shows the power of finding your tribe, you know?
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they point out that HF wouldn't be starting from scratch.
Okay.
Tons of Illinois high schoolers already have esports programs,
Okay.
even competing in state finals,
Wow.
hosted by the Illinois High School Esports Association
Okay.
at Northern Illinois University.
It's not just some fringe activity anymore.
Yeah.
Look at Lyons Township High School nearby.
Yeah.
They have 12 different esports teams.
Wow.
This proposal taps into a movement that's already gaining serious momentum.
Speaking of momentum,
Yeah.
the Finleys emphasize that colleges are now offering scholarships for esports athletes,
Right.
real money for higher education.
Yeah.
They say that without a program, HF students are missing out on these opportunities.
And it goes beyond just playing games, right?
Yeah.
They argue it's about preparing students for a future that's increasingly tech-driven.
Right.
Whether we like it or not, esports is a growing industry with real-world implications. If colleges are adapting, shouldn't high schools follow suit?
And they make a really interesting local connection. They point out that the Homewood Flossmoor Park District is even hosting a Rocket League competition this spring,
Wow.
open to players of all ages.
Well, that's a clever tactic.
Yeah.
They're bringing it right into the community,
Yeah.
making it harder to ignore.
Yeah.
It's like they're saying, look, esports isn't this far off thing.
Right.
Your kids are already playing it. Do you want them to benefit from it or be left behind?
Their proposal ends with a very clear call to action.
Right.
They urge the school board to establish an official esports program
Okay.
and appoint a dedicated sponsor to get things going.
It shows they're not just complaining, but offering a solution.
Yeah.
They want to work with the school to make this happen, recognizing that it's going to take real leadership to bring their vision to life.
So this proposal isn't just about video games.
Right.
It's about education, opportunities, and how HF adapts to a changing world.
For sure.
And it brings up some big questions. What do you think about bringing esports into schools?
Yeah.
Are the Finleys' arguments convincing?
There are definitely arguments to be made on both sides.
Right.
Some people might say schools should focus on core academics, that there are already enough extracurricular activities, or that video games are distracting.
Absolutely. Those are valid concerns.
Yeah.
But how do we balance them against the potential benefits?
Right.
What stands out to you about this proposal? What are the pros and cons you see?
It's a complex issue with no easy answers.
Yeah.
And that's what makes this so interesting. We're not here to give you the right answer,
Right.
but to unpack the nuances and encourage you to think critically about this.
And to consider how this connects to bigger questions. The role of technology in education.
Yeah.
What it means to be well-rounded, and how we prepare young people for the future.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This proposal is just one piece of a much larger conversation happening everywhere, not just in Homewood Flossmoor.
Yeah.
How do we define success in the 21st century?
And that's exactly what we'll be diving into in the next part of this deep dive.
Okay.
Stay tuned, because this is where things get really interesting.
Awesome. Looking forward to it. It's interesting to think about those opposing viewpoints you just mentioned.
Yeah.
The Finleys actually address some of them head-on in the proposal.
Oh, okay.
For example, they emphasize that eSports wouldn't replace existing programs at HF,
Okay.
but rather complement them.
So it's like they're trying to find a middle ground.
Right.
Recognizing that traditional academics are still important.
Yeah.
But maybe there's room for both.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They see eSports as a way to broaden the definition of what a well-rounded education can look like.
Okay.
And they're not suggesting it should be a free-for-all.
Right.
They actually propose working with organizations like the IHSEA to make sure any program is implemented responsibly with structure and oversight.
That makes sense. I mean, if you're going to bring something new into a school environment, you want to make sure it's done right.
For sure.
But what about those concerns that video games are inherently distracting?
Right.
How do they address that?
Well, they argue that eSports can actually teach valuable skills, like time management and discipline.
Okay.
Think about it.
Yeah.
To be successful in competitive gaming, you have to balance practice time with schoolwork and learn to focus intensely for long periods.
So they're flipping the script, saying that maybe instead of being a distraction, eSports could actually teach kids how to be more focused and organized.
Exactly.
It's an interesting perspective, for sure.
And it gets to the heart of the debate, doesn't it?
Yeah.
What do we really value in education?
Yeah.
Are we preparing students for the world as it is, or the world as it's becoming?
It's like the Finleys are holding up a mirror to the school board and saying, hey, the world is changing, and we need to make sure our students are ready for it.
Right, and they're not alone in thinking this way.
Yeah.
More and more colleges and universities are recognizing the growing influence of eSports and the skills it requires.
Yeah.
They're offering scholarships.
Right.
Creating dedicated eSports programs.
Yeah.
And even building state-of-the-art gaming facilities.
And think about the jobs of the future.
Yeah.
We've already got eSports athletes, coaches, analysts, shoutcasters.
Right.
And who knows what new roles will emerge in the next few years.
Yeah.
It's a whole new industry, and someone's going to need to fill those jobs.
Exactly. And it's not just about eSports itself. The skills you learn in competitive gaming, problem solving, teamwork, strategic thinking, those are transferable to any field.
Right.
It's about adaptability and being able to learn and grow in a constantly evolving world.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener?
Yeah.
Whether you're a parent, a student, or just someone who cares about the future of education. This proposal raises some important questions.
Are we open to new possibilities?
Yeah.
Are we willing to challenge our assumptions about what a good education looks like?
Right.
And how do we make sure we're preparing our kids for the challenges and opportunities that lie ahead?
It's about more than just eSports, isn't it?
Right.
It's about adapting to a changing world and making sure we don't get left behind.
And it's about recognizing that there are different paths to success.
Yeah.
Maybe the kid who's spending hours mastering Rocket League isn't just wasting their time.
Right.
Maybe they're developing skills that will be invaluable in the years to come.
It's a good point. We often judge things based on our own experiences and what we know. But the world is changing so fast, and what worked for us might not work for the next generation.
Exactly, and that's why it's so important to have these conversations, to listen to different perspectives and to be open to new ideas.
So what's your take on all this?
Yeah.
Do you think eSports has a place in high school? Are we underestimating the value of gaming, or is this just a passing fad?
We'd love to hear what you think.
Yeah.
Share your thoughts with us on social media or leave a comment on the podcast page.
Yeah.
This is a conversation that deserves to be had, and everyone's voice matters.
And in the final part of this deep dive, we'll explore some of the potential challenges and benefits of bringing eSports into schools. So we've talked about, all these arguments for and against esports in schools
Right.
and how this proposal connects to these bigger trends. But let's
Yeah.
bring it back to Homewood Flossmoor and the Finley's proposal specifically.
Okay.
They're not just talking about these abstract ideas. This is deeply personal for them.
Right. Their whole motivation stems from seeing the positive impact esports has had on their son.
Yeah.
Especially as he navigates the challenges of being autistic.
Right.
It adds a powerful layer of emotion and urgency to their argument.
It's a good reminder that behind all the data and debate, there are real human stories driving these conversations. And those stories can often be the most persuasive element.
Absolutely. Statistics and research are important, but sometimes it's the personal connection that really resonates and makes people pay attention.
So how do you think the school board will react to this proposal? Do you think they'll be receptive to the Finley's vision, or will they be hesitant to embrace something as new and unconventional as esports?
It's hard to say for sure.
Yeah.
There are likely to be differing opinions, just like there are in any community. Some board members might be excited about the potential benefits, while others might be more cautious, focusing on the potential drawbacks.
It's interesting to think about what those drawbacks might be. We've already touched on some of the concerns, like the potential for distraction or the need to ensure responsible implementation.
Right.
But what are some other challenges the school board might need to consider?
Well, one practical consideration is cost.
Okay.
Setting up an esports program would require some investment.
Right.
Equipment, software, coaching staff.
Yeah.
Maybe even dedicated facilities. The board would need to weigh those costs against other priorities.
And then there's the question of how to integrate esports into the existing school structure. Would it be a club, a team, a class?
Yeah.
How would it fit into the school day, and who would be responsible for overseeing it?
Those are all important logistical questions.
Yeah.
And then there are the social considerations.
Yeah.
How do you ensure that esports is inclusive and welcoming to all students?
Yeah.
Regardless of their background or skill level.
That's a great point. You wouldn't want it to become just another exclusive clique. Right. Especially since the Finleys are emphasizing the potential for esports to create a sense of belonging, particularly for students who might not fit in elsewhere.
Right. And there's also the challenge of managing screen time and promoting healthy gaming habits.
Right.
It's a concern that parents and educators have about video games in general.
Yeah.
And it would be especially important to address in the context of a school-sponsored program.
So it's not as simple as just saying yes or no to esports.
Right.
There are a lot of nuances and complexities to consider.
Yeah.
But that's what makes this such an interesting case study. It forces us to think critically about the role of education,
For sure.
the impact of technology,
Yeah.
and how we prepare young people for a future that's constantly evolving.
It's a reminder that we can't just hold on to the past.
Right.
We have to be willing to adapt and evolve, to explore new possibilities, and to embrace the unknown.
And sometimes those new possibilities come from the most unexpected places. Who would have thought that video games could spark such a passionate debate about the future of education?
It just goes to show that we should never underestimate the power of innovation or the ability of a single idea to challenge our assumptions and inspire change.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into the Finley's proposal, we leave you with this. How will Homewood Flossmoor High School respond to this call to action? Will they seize the opportunity to become a leader in esports education, or will they stick with the status quo?
Only time will tell, but one thing is for sure. The conversation has begun, and the decisions made in Homewood Flossmoor could have ripple effects far beyond the walls of this one high school.
It's a reminder that we're all part of shaping the future, whether we realize it or not, and the choices we make today will determine the world our children inherit tomorrow.
So as you go about your day, dear listener, we encourage you to keep thinking about these issues, to engage in these conversations, and to be a part of creating the future you want to see.